to episode 25 of West End Talks. And today we're going back to the Coliseum for our second time, I think. Don't quote me on that one. But today we're delighted to be joined by Adam Dawson, who was he was in Pirate Queen, getting all tongue-tied, for his West End debut. He was also Mr. Mayor and Monkey Number 1 in Suzical at Southwark Playhouse. He was Jude in Hair in the tour for the 50th anniversary of Hair. And he was also Hanshin, but don't quote me on the pronunciation, he'll tell me if that was wrong, and Spring Awakening up in the Hope Mill Theatre. So without further ado, let's welcome Adam. Welcome, Adam.
Hello.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
It works. Thank you for having me.
It does work, yes. It's when you press the right button, it works fine.
It works. Great.
But no, thank you for joining us. The privilege definitely is ours. We're going to spend the next couple of wee while getting to know you and getting to know Adam a bit better rather than the characters you've played.
Yeah.
But you've played, as I said in the kind of intro there, you've played a vast majority of shows and like a fair mixture.
Yeah, I've done loads of different stuff. I've been really, really lucky. Everything I've done, I've had loads to do in them. And every show's been totally different, which has been really, really nice. Yeah,
because you've gone from like the LGBT musical Spring Awakening to the hippie musical Hair.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is in chronological order, by the way, this is just the order I've got them written down.
Yeah.
To then the wacky world of Suzical.
Yes.
Or Whoville, to the very serious but fantastic Pirate Queen.
Yeah.
It's a fair, and that was your West End debut, wasn't it? That was the first time you'd been in the West End, and what a West End debut for the.
It was.
Your debut was that's debut in the West End as well.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It was insane. That is an evening I will never, ever, ever forget. I will never forget the feeling of walking out on that stage. It was something beyond like I could ever believe, because it was like a concert performance, everyone knew it was only being done once. It was huge, like on a scale that you'd never do that show on, because financially it would make no sense. But as we walked out, the entire Coliseum just burst into applause, and that has just never left me. And there's the whole way the show starts, it starts a cappella. So it was an amazing feeling.
Yeah, well, I was in the audience and I remember it clear. I'll never forget it, and I was just in the audience. It was a fantastic bit. You obviously, we'll get into it. Okay. A bit more as we go on. But the first question we ask the West End fans, Talks fans will know, is it's the same as we ask every day, and it's what got you into performing? A nice easy one to start.
Yeah, so it was a long story. So for some reason, when I was younger, I decided one day that I wanted to learn how to play the piano, and had to beg my mum to start lessons. She got me this tiny little piano. It must have been like this big, and she's like, if you practice that every day, then I'll get you lessons. So I did. So I got my lessons. And then I kind of was doing that, and I was part of like the school choir. I mean, this is junior schools. Don't ask me what age this is. Young. And I was kind of part of a band for a bit, which was nice. And then one day I came home year 6. I said to my mum, I'm going to be in the musical. And she's like, oh, right, okay, fine. Like, no idea. And I was like, yeah, I'm playing Joseph. And she was like, oh, right.
Maybe in the musical.
Yeah, okay. Right. She's never heard me sing before in my life, not on my own. And then that was that. That was my first role, was playing Joseph in year 6 at White Regis Junior School, which is where I went to school in sleepy Dorset. And then after that, that was it. Every single year, I was doing a different show, and then kind of went on from there, and it kind of became second nature. But up until that point, no one in my family plays any instruments. My brother does, my younger brother. He got into it after me. But yeah, it just kind of completely came out of the blue. But I think it was the fact that I wanted to play the piano. I always went in as a musician, that's the way that I kind of entered it. Like quite a lot of MT performers come from dancing. Usually, they get
Yeah.
thrown into dance school really young. Yeah, I didn't dance until I was 18, so that definitely was not my route.
No, it was more the Elton John route, learning the piano.
Yeah.
Elton John story.
Yeah, exactly.
You could have played him in the Rocket Man by the sounds of it, and you would have lived through your own life almost.
Oh my gosh, that'd be
A
great.
few years before, quite a few years before you though. So you mentioned obviously your first performance was Joseph in year 6, but what was your first professional production?
So my first professional job, I was really lucky. I went to Arts Ed, so second year, third year, we did the Oliviers every single year. I was part of a couple of concert performances and like in the ensemble / choir versions of stuff in the last couple of years of training. And then my first job out, professional job out, was the 50th anniversary cast of Hair at the Vaults in London. That was my first job. Yeah. And
where you played Jude?
I did. So I was on stage swing. I covered 5 parts. I went on for all 5 parts. Actually, I think there was 109 performances, and I went on for covers for 67 or 68 of them.
Wow.
So I was really, really lucky. I played everyone, did everything and anything. I played Claude, which was amazing. There were some days that I was Woof in the afternoon, Claude in the evening. There was a couple of shows where I think I was like the dad and my own part up until the interval, and then at the interval I was thrown on for another part. I went on for like Woof or Claude in the afternoon because the show had a lot of like logistical problems when it comes to cast. I mean, the vaults are tunnels. In the summer, it was hotter than the sun. Like, it was insane in there. Katie Lipson paid to get air conditioning put into there because it was that bad. And that was wonderful because in the summer it was great because I mean we were barely wearing anything anyway. But then in the winter it was freezing in there. And we went like the total opposite way. We had to change the beginning of the show because it was just too cold to be sat on a concrete floor for half an hour before we started, because we all started sat in a circle on the floor whilst the audience came in around us to try and create this like semi-immersive thing, which was wonderful. A brilliant concept, worked wonderfully in the summer, but in the winter was not the one.
Imagine. Definitely. I've been in the vaults as an audience member a few times, and yes, most of it actually has been through the summer, thankfully.
Yes.
Yes, but this is you, and
that is me with my gorgeous wig.
Your hair.
Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how much I hated that wig.
Imagine, yes.
Yeah, it was always in your mouth. Like, I don't understand how anyone has long hair. It completely baffles me.
And you newfound love for women, definitely.
Yeah.
We'll touch more about in the hair later on. I think some of the fans have asked you about hair. But so we'll move on, and now we'll hold no responsibility for the next set of questions. They are all from either your fans or fans of the shows that you've been in.
Cool.
So the first question comes from Tony, and he asks, what was it like standing on a West End stage for the first time?
I'm very lucky that I have been on West End stages before. So I had done Hair and Spring Awakening both have won What's on Stage awards, and I performed in both of those award ceremonies. So I performed on West End stages before, but I've never been in a theatre as big as the Coliseum ever, and that stage is something else. Like that you can, it's tangible, like you can feel it in the air. The Pirate Queen, because it was only one show, there was so much riding on that one performance, and it was just colossal. Like, it was absolutely huge. Like, I think we had a cast of nearly 50 people I think, maybe more. That is just like, it's just not heard of. Like, I mean, 42nd Street is the next biggest cast that would have been on a West End stage, and as the gauze went up, we all walked on in silence. The entire audience erupted, and all we saw was and one, and then we were off, and that was it. And it just felt like it didn't stop after that, because when you do a show, you normally have your 2 weeks of previews or whatever to learn your backstage track. Your backstage track is just as much of a performance, and you need to master that as much as you master your performance on stage. And with things like that, that just doesn't happen. It's like when we've done the Olivier's before, it all just feels thrown together. And if you make it on stage on time in the right costume, say the right lines, then you leave, and then it's just cancelled, continue, you go on to the next one after that. So although it was the most amazing feeling that first instant, after that I couldn't tell you what happened. I can't remember.
Imagine, yes.
It just happened. I don't think anything major went wrong. And then I remember the very end, I remember leaving. There's actually a video of me. My friend got a video of the bows at the end. And you see me take one last look as I leave, just to try and absorb it, because it just didn't feel real. The entire time, it just didn't feel real at all. It was amazing, and sharing a stage with such talented people was an absolute delight. And with a band as well, the orchestra as big as we had, was great. The sound was amazing. Yeah.
No, definitely. We already had Tom Gribby, who was the producer of it. He's been into your talk already. And he was obviously saying about the cast, and every single person was fantastic. But when you've got such a strong woman at the head, as Miss Tucker is, she's absolutely outstanding. Like, the whole cast were fantastic. We're not taking any away from anybody, but when you've got that one strong person at the top, then the rest kind of follow on, don't they?
Honestly, like seeing. I mean, all of the leads obviously are West End seasoned professionals, but watching them work in the rehearsal room was, for me, just as rewarding as going and doing the show. To see Hannah and Rachel, just watching them, how they work round the piano, then they get it into the space. So there was a day that the first day we did our press for the Pirate Queen, Rachel got stuck on a train, so we did everything that we were supposed to do for the press, and then we had to take a break. Rachel literally walked in, coat off, water, right, where do I go? And then just blasted out Woman, and it was the first time any of us had heard her do it. And the famous book drop moment, it was insane. You're right, having someone as professional, but she's so instinctual, and that is an amazing thing to watch. Really, really rewarding. And it's great being in a rehearsal room. Obviously, we get to see it as well, so we don't just
you get to see it from day one.
Yeah, it's not like you get to go and watch the show when you're in it, especially if it only happens once. So it was really nice to at least get an idea of what the audience would be experiencing. But yeah, we were very, very, very lucky with the people we had leading.
Well, definitely, because you obviously had Hannah Waddington. You mentioned her as well. She's a seasoned professional as well, and Jai McDowell, who obviously won Britain's Got Talent, and Daniel Boyes was there, and the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
The list definitely went on, and then you've also got Adam Dawson, who was there as well. So moving on, our next question comes from your show boyfriend.
Oh, God.
Who we had on, actually, the last episode was your show boyfriend. We mentioned this briefly, or he mentioned it, should I say. We do have some pictures this time. We didn't have any pictures last time because I didn't know until he mentions it. But this is obviously you and him there.
It is, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember this being taken, day one.
You and Luke. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Oh, I missed that.
But Luke, obviously, he asks, it was a statement to start with. He says he misses you and he wants to know when our next kiss is.
Aww. That's taken from a video still, because that photo, like, there isn't a photo of that moment. Yeah.
Well, that's actually taken from your Instagram.
Oh, is it? That's taken from my
Yeah.
Instagram. Yeah, that's taken from a video still, because there is no photo of that moment. Like, I think because the way Spring Awakening works is, unless it's Melchior and Wendler, really, everyone else is more of a vignette. So Ernst, which is Luke's character, and Hanshin, which was my character, only really interact in the scene, the song, and then the scene that we are in, which is in that moment. The rest of the time, they don't really interact at all. Um, so yeah, we don't have many photos or moments together, and that was thrown in at very last minute when we did the EPK on opening night, because I don't think it was supposed to be in it, but as we'd finished all the group stuff, it was, oh, Adam and Luke, just come and do your bit. So we did. Yeah.
So yeah, so he touched on it a bit, but I think we're going to touch on it slightly more because we have had some questions in about it.
Yes.
So we'll touch on it a bit later. But coming back full circle to the Pirate Queen again.
Yeah.
Sally asks, how did the Pirate Queen come about, and was it special being part of the UK's premiere performance?
Yeah, so I remember the first time I ever heard any songs from the Pirate Queen was I did a foundation course, basically to learn how to dance and to learn how to get into Arts Ed, at PPA in Guildford. And the Emily Benjamin, who was in Bat Out of Hell, yeah, it's weird saying that because that's her stage name, but there again, mine's different as well. So Emily sang Woman, and that's the first time I ever heard it. And then I went through a phase of singing I'll Be There every single week in song class, just because that's what you do. And that was like the first time I ever came across the show. And obviously at that stage, you're young, you're fresh, you're doing all of your research. And I saw that it'd never been on before. I was trying to find bits of it, and there wasn't much about it over here at all. And like Les Mis, Saigon, Martin Gerd to an extent, because the shows are sung through, there aren't, but in this one there aren't so many standalone songs. It's not like Les Mis when you've got I Dreamed a Dream, Stars, Bring Him Home. Like it's just belter after belter after belter with little bits in between, whereas this is so story driven, because it's a true story to an extent. There aren't really those moments. There are just some absolutely sensational short little bits in between, and you're like, wow, like where did that come from? And that was part of the thing when we sat down and started reading through it all. It was, none of us really had ever heard it before. So yeah, it was amazing. And I remember how it came about. I found out that Drew was directing, because I did a cabaret at Sing Easy, and that's what he runs. So I did my cabaret there, and then I went out in for a meeting just for a catch up. And he told me then, and I was like, wow, that is absolutely sensational. And what an amazing thing to have, like what a gift to be given. And doing this was years and years and years in the making to get this off its feet, because it's huge and it has to be done right. And anything when it's done the first time round has to be done right, because it could be the end of it. It may be the first and last time it's ever done. And so you need to make sure that's quite a lot of pressure, a lot of responsibility. But yeah, I never imagined when he told me he was doing it that I'd be part of it. And I was incredibly, incredibly lucky, because I didn't actually get to audition for it because I was away doing another job. So thank God my cabaret was okay.
It's seen other things, so that's always good.
Yeah.
That's That's some advice for other people. Never be bad in anything because you never know who's watching.
Exactly. No, like totally. I remember the first time I ever met Drew was at Hair Press Night. I'd never met him before. That was the first time I'd met him. And yeah, our paths have crossed. And that's the other thing. You never know when you're going to meet people again, or they might be free doing something the time that you're free and you want to do something. They might have a platform, or you might have a platform that you can use and work together to make something. So yeah, that's a really important thing. You always have to be on your A game and a good person and nice and professional and all of those things as well.
That's very true.
It paid off for me.
It did, yes, it did. Your first weekend role.
Yeah.
Connor wants to know, would you be interested if there was a full run of Pirate Queen announced?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The music is incredible. It's very, very high. So it's actually one of those things, I think after a while, you need your muscle memory to be able to sing like that all the time. It made me really understand what it must be like to be in Les Mis, Miss Saigon every single night. Is such a demanding vocal quality that I would have said maybe 6 or 7 years ago would have come more naturally to me than it does now. And especially after the things I've done, like I've been in two rock musicals really. So moving on to something like legit is totally different. So I would love to do that show. I can only imagine what the set would be. It would be amazing. Epic, like it is an epic. It's an epic tale. It's huge. And just to be a little part of that was so rewarding for one night. So yes, I would love to do that show every night because it's just great knowing your little percentage is adding to such a beast. Yeah, I loved it.
Wow. And in case anybody's not aware or not seen Tom Gibby's interview, obviously the Pirate Queen was written by the same people. The book and the lyrics were all written, and music was written by the same people as Les Mis and Miss Saigon. That's why we keep comparing them to the musical.
Yeah.
Obviously, Wilburg and Chopin up here.
Yeah, we had Mr. Schoenberg in the room for the first week. It was amazing.
Yeah, but he couldn't make the actual performance, which was annoying, I bet, wasn't it?
Yeah, he had to fly off, which was a shame. But just learning from him, I mean, that's something that I don't think any of us thought we'd get in our lifetime. Because, I mean, Les Mis is what, 35 years old now? Something
at least that, anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I think it might be more than that.
It must be more than that. It must be 30. It's coming up, it's 40th.
Yeah, it can't be far off. And to be part of the process of something that is new from them just is something I never thought would happen for me, just because of where we're at. Like, I know people who have done Ms and they meet them, and it's different when you become part of a show that's already so long running. But we really got to understand his concept, how he wrote it, why he wrote it that way. He'd be like, stop. And then he'd be like whispering in the MD's ear. And then it'd be like, right, you need to do it like this. This is what we're going for. This is what we want. He came and sat next to me at one moment because there was a day that loads of tenors were missing and it was me and a load of basses. So he was like, I can't hear, the balance is no good. So he came and sat next to me so he could get like the right balance of the sound. He is a musical genius. Like, in all senses of the word, like literally a musical genius. So to be in that rehearsal room with him was amazing. So he wrote
No,
it.
definitely, I can completely understand that. So Charlie wants to know, is it easier doing a one-nighter or is it than a full run? So is doing a one-nighter easier than doing a full run?
No, I think it's way harder, like way harder. I think the mental pressure that you put on yourself for that one night is more than you'd put on yourself the entire run if you were to do an entire run. When you do a run, you can really relax into it. You get the lifestyle. And the other thing is that you get to develop and play and create relationships with your castmates and both when you're doing the show and externally as well. So you try things, and maybe that really works that night and it didn't work the next night, and you start playing and adapting ever so slightly, so it becomes so real. Whereas I think for anything, like any first preview that you go and see, everyone's still a little bit like rabbits in headlights. Like, we're just trying to get in the right place at the right time and do justice to what we want to put on, and do justice to the director's vision and our vision and the piece itself. But on a one-nighter, you're doing all of those things, and for that show in particular, trying to negotiate how many people there were doing it was insane. So no, I think it's way harder. It takes like 150% worth of effort to do that, and it's completely different to how it would be if you were to do a long run of that show, because you couldn't do it the way that we did it, and you couldn't. I was so vocally tired after that evening, because you want to give everything. You want to give everything you have, because you only get one opportunity. But for longevity's sake, that is not necessarily the best thing to do. No. So I think they're harder, and I find them more stressful because I like to know what I'm doing. I'm quite a pragmatic kind of person, so not really knowing, like, the second half of that show was not teched, and that fills me with a lot of anxiety. But it happened. It worked.
It definitely did.
Well, yeah, because they had a show in the Coliseum on the Saturday night before. Then the Pirate Queen team went in, set up overnight, and then we came in first thing in the morning. Band has to do sound checks, sound levels, all that jazz. Get up, do the main big numbers, and then we all get up, and then you're just gonna run out of time, and we did. So yeah.
Well, it was fantastic anyway, but that's just put another level into it that you didn't even take.
There was a visible moment. Like, I went round, I had a cheat sheet. Everyone had a cheat sheet in their pockets. Like, so what side of stage I needed to be to get into what costumes. I'd never worn the costumes until the day. We'd never done a dress run until the day. Like, getting in and out. So we had no idea how long it would take to get in and out of some of the costumes. So we had people like, I'm going to need you to do my buttons as I'm running around the other side, because the costumes were huge. They weren't like easy, simple fixes. Yeah, it was a lot. And that's the thing. You're worrying about all those things. You're worrying just about getting there in time, let alone what you're actually going to do when you get on there. Luckily, we'd rehearsed so much that the actual doing itself, as soon as you were on, you were fine. But the whole lead up, the backstage must have been, I bet that was a more interesting show. I bet that was hilarious to watch. I've never run so much in my life. Ever. Never, ever, ever.
It must be massive to get from one end of the stage, one side of the stage to the other.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's huge. And there were some bits that you thought you'd need to preset your costume on one side, and then when you did it in the morning, you go, oh no, I need to do it the other side. But then there were bits of the show that we were like, I don't know if my costume's the right side because we've not teched it. So we'll see.
Wow. Newfound love for it, definitely.
It happened. That was the main thing. It happened.
It did, and it was fantastic to the audience.
Yeah, and you didn't know. That's good.
No, we didn't know. Certainly, there would be people in the audience that did, like Tom Gibby and all that. But
oh yeah, I bet they were like,
they had saw the show loads of times. But
are they going to make it?
Us, who had no idea.
No idea.
I can only speak for myself, but I thought it was fantastic, definitely. And I wanted to go because it was a one-nighter.
Yes.
I thought we have to go. So moving on to something slightly not as serious as
that crazy one.
That one, yes. Which again I saw, and it was absolutely fantastic. Mazza Hatter, the whole show, but anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Samantha wants to know, did you enjoy working in Whoville?
Oh, did I? I did. I didn't like my yellow suit at all. That, like, when I say about your backstage journey, my backstage journey on that show was hilarious.
This yellow suit.
This yellow suit, yeah, horrendous. So I had to be underdressed the entire show. So underneath the blazer of that is a big plastic sheet, because it was just a bib. I did a video on my Instagram of that costume change, because I think it was 27 seconds, something like that, to get into and out of a full suit. Underneath there, I was wearing jeans, a shirt, different shoes. That's the first show I've actually had to have a dresser on. I actually had to have someone helping me dress, because I just wouldn't make it. And because it's all one act, there was no like error at all. There was no margin for error. The first 25 minutes I was in and out of that costume like nobody's business. But yeah, it was good. That show was fun. I don't know, hair was fun, but had a very important message. And then Spring Awakening happened, and that is fun in a different way, but that was just purely for enjoyment. I've never done something that's purely, there's no like alternative message really to that show, other than look at this. It's just an explosion of color and fun and yeah, madness. It was mad.
And who doesn't love a bit of Dr. Zeus?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was crazy. It was great though. I loved it. I loved that show.
Oh, it was fantastic to watch. I've got to say, it was hilarious, but fantastic. So Abby wants to know, who's your favourite character, in Seussical?
My favourite character in Seussical? The sour kangaroo. She has some...
Oh, right. Why is that?
She has some belters. She has some great songs. Yeah, she has some great moments. I think sour kangaroo. Yeah, I think sour kangaroo. But I love Alone in the Universe as a song between Jojo and Horton. That's a great song. There are just so many great moments in that show, but Sour Kangaroo is the one that stands out for me, for sure.
I like Mr. Mayor.
Oh, do you?
There's a bit of bias in that answer.
A little bit of bias.
Yeah, that biasness. Natalie asks, what's your favourite song in the show? So in Seussical. In
Seussical?
Yeah.
I do have to be a little bit biased. I can't remember what it's called. The problem is with that show is that it's all sung through, so I can never remember what those songs. But there's a rustle in the bushes. That song, that was my favourite. The me, Reese, and Robbie doing our thing was my favourite bit every night.
Right. I'm terrible with names, but I know what song you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah, that little bit. I love that bit. And then Alone in the Universe, but mainly for the instrumental. And every I'm so sad. When we did the rehearsals, we rehearsed in a church which had like a kitchenette at the back, which had like a wall, and then we were rehearsing in the main space, and I'd come off stage right, it would be, but James, our MD, was downstage left playing the piano, and the accompaniment to Alone in the Universe is great. I lived for it every single time he played it. So I used to run around and go and sit behind him and watch him play it. That was like my little thing that I did every single day.
So was that the Church of Scotland?
Sorry?
Is it the Church of Scotland church?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
See?
You know.
I think I know that because the only reason I know that is because that's where Winston Island did the dress rehearsal.
Yes.
Which was also at Southwark. Obviously the year after, but it was Southwark as well.
Yeah, there. Yeah, so I did it there, and yeah, I used to watch that every day, and that's like a musical moment for me. I mean, the songs, the music in that show is wonderful. I didn't really know it until I did it, if I'm honest. I didn't really know it at all.
I knew the stories. I knew the characters and the stories, but I didn't know the musical.
I know some of the songs just because like some of the standalone songs, especially for the women, get used quite a lot for auditions. So I know quite a lot of friends had sung songs from it. So I knew the vibe. But yeah, that was my favourite little moments for me. Great. So moving on to something else you've done. We've touched on it already.
Tracy wants to know, did you enjoy being a hippie?
Yes. Hair completely changed my life. Not only as a performer, I mean, it was my first professional job. It was my first leading role. It was first time being a swing. It was the first for everything. But I had done moments from hair in like a little compilation whilst I was doing my foundation and never came back to it. And the show is brilliant. The music is wonderful. I mean, again, it's completely off its rockers. Like it's mad. But the journey I went on as Adam doing that show completely changed me as a person. With regards to my ideals and my moral standing, my outlook on life, the tribe that we had. It was really interesting, and it comes down to brilliant casting and foresight from Jonathan O'Boyle, our director, to put the cast that we had together, because outside of Hair, when we were just us, we all sat in the same hierarchy and contributed the same things to conversation. That was mad. Hair by far was the most of a journey that I've been on for any show. It's the longest run I've done, and I think the message behind the story really changed me. I had an absolute whale of a time. If I could do that show for the rest of my life, I would, hands down. Done. We needed a break. We needed a break when we got there, because it's so demanding. But I could do that show forever. I loved it.
I've never seen a professional production of Hair, but I have seen an amateur in production when I was at summer camp, and it was fantastic. Like,
it's crazy.
Mark kind of touches on, obviously it was to do with the 50th anniversary. That was the whole point in the tour and the Vaults production. It went on tour as well. So why do you think Hair is still as big 50 years later?
Because I think the problems and the issues that Hair challenges have not been resolved, both politically and socially. They've not changed. I think we've come as a society full circle, and this is the type of person that we need now to fight injustice and to stand up and say, no, this is wrong. And I think that's why it speaks to audiences. That show has so much heart to it. And I think it's really interesting because you never really get to know the characters very well, because again, it's just vignette after vignette after vignette after vignette that are all thrown together. The entire show was written in 2 weeks, whilst both the writers were high as kites. So that completely explains why it is what it is. The whole of the second act is a trip that we did in UV light that I think the first time you see it, you must be like, what is going on? Because there was one story going on and now suddenly we're in a completely different show. But I think that's why, because that show has so much hope, optimism, but such a serious thread running through it that socially and politically, I don't think as a society, as like a member of the world, we have changed. I don't think it's changed. I think we're still sat in the same world. The difference is now it's not a tangible war in Vietnam that show addresses. It's everything else.
Yeah, everything else. Yes, that's another subject. We'll not get into that just now.
We won't get into that.
No, we could be there for a while. But we all completely understand what you mean and everything. So yeah, we're on the same page. I'm hoping we're all on the same page. I certainly am. So Justin wants to know, what's your favourite song and scene from Hair?
From Hair?
Yes.
That's really hard.
It's probably got one of the most well-known non-musical songs, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, like I didn't know the show, and because it used to be on Muller advert, wasn't it?
Hmm.
I think.
Good Morning Starshine or Good Morning Sunshine.
Yeah, that was on. Yeah, that's a really well-known song. I got my hair, I got my head. That was used on an advert for ages when I was younger. It's. I think the show has 47 songs in it.
Wow.
Which is crazy. And when we did our cast album, we got almost all of them on. It's the most complete cast recording of the show that there is, because again, there's loads of little bits that are just they end up getting cut because they're just not like big enough,
Mhm.
because there aren't really any scenes in it really. The scenes are always leading up to a song, but for me, the end, I will never forget. Let the Sun Shine is just an amazing moment, because I think when you think of that song, you always think, oh, it's a really happy, positive song. But no, that's once the show has finished, you've taken your bow. That's then the encore and the call out. That, and I think it's amazing that they managed to write a song that managed to both be incredibly somber and joyous at the same time in two
Yeah.
different settings, which is amazing. Coming on for Claude on those performances was really, really emotionally tough. I vividly remember LJ, who played Sheila, every single night just breaking down, and I couldn't look at her a lot of the time because I was gone.
Yeah.
Just because she put everything into that show, every single night. I mean, we all did, but I remember being stood there and she was in front of me and she turned around and I'm not supposed to see them because he's a ghost at that point, and heartbreaking. I think it's incredibly powerful. It's a show that forces a standing ovation in such a somber tone, which I think is great. Everyone gets up because you don't really know what to do with yourself because you're that sad. Yeah, that's what I remember. And the burn it section,
Mhm.
is again really, really powerful. Especially when you're setting things on fire every night, which was fun.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Yes, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So moving on again,
Yeah.
because you've done that much, and we're getting that many questions about different shows.
Yeah.
So we touched on it at the start, and we also touched on it when your show boyfriend came
My
up.
show boyfriend, Mr. Latchman.
Yes, Mr. Latchman. But other people have actually sent in questions about it.
Yeah.
So we're going to change the background to, I don't know what one. What will we do? We'll do that one. That's the next one. We don't actually have the poster for some reason. I couldn't find it, but I'm sure. I know you've got it up in the background, so
Yeah,
we'll make it.
I'm really lucky to have got one of these because they didn't sell them. I managed to get one just as we were leaving, when they were doing all the get out. Yeah, very, very lucky.
That's good. It's a nice souvenir. So Penny wants to know. She saw the show 5 times, and you were
Wow.
outstanding. You were all outstanding, she says. That was just obviously up at the Hope Mill Theatre in
Yeah.
Manchester.
Yeah.
But Penny wants to know, why do you think Spring Awakening did not get a West End transfer?
I know exactly why Spring Awakening did not get a West End transfer. I don't know if I'm allowed to say. I guess I'm allowed to say. It's to do with rights, basically. The production that we had was all set to do a transfer because up until that point, I think every single Hope Mill show had transferred. So I was in Hair in the transfer, but I wasn't in it when it was at the Hope Mill in Manchester. So I then did Spring in Manchester, and it's to do with the rights. Unfortunately, we had the rights for the Manchester production. At the same time, there's a company who had them in for town, and they were deciding whether they were going to be using them or not. And until they made a decision, we then couldn't make. The production company couldn't make a decision as to whether it was either going to go, because if they chose to do a show in town, we technically could have done a show on tour or vice versa. But yeah, that is why we were all set. We all thought it was. but unfortunately it comes down to logistics, not necessarily anything about the show itself. And then it gets so far down the line that I mean, the people who were in that show, it's such a talented cast. Everyone has just gone on and done absolutely everything, and anything since then. I remember trying to get everyone together to do the What's on Stage performance was a nightmare, just because everyone's so busy, which is great, like it's wonderful. But yeah, that's the reason why. Nothing to do with the show, nothing to do with anyone wanting it, just because unfortunately rights get in the way sometimes.
Yeah. So obviously it was a musical, and it was one of the first, certainly one of the first I saw that tackled LGBT issues.
Yeah.
In mainstream musical theatre.
Yeah.
Certainly one of the first. So what was it like to be a part of that? That was Rachel that asked that, sorry.
To be part of an LGBTQ plus musical.
Yeah.
So controversially, I had never heard of, well, I have heard of Spring Awakening, but I'd never listened to Spring Awakening until I went for my audition. The reason why is that Spring kind of came about when I was auditioning for drama schools, and it was so popular, you were not to do any songs from Spring Awakening, because you need to try and stay away from the mainstream. So therefore I just didn't invest in it, because there was no point for me to listen to it, because I couldn't use anything from it. And knowing my luck, I'd fall in love with a song and then not be able to use it, which has happened on many occasions. So I kind of avoided it. And it's one of those shows that now I listen to the soundtrack, it makes so much more sense. But on its own, I don't know if the soundtrack translates the message, because it's so compartmentalized. Like you understand, but you don't necessarily understand the concepts or the context the songs are in. Being part of an LGBTQ plus musical was obviously, I felt quite a lot of responsibility, if I'm honest. As a gay man, my experience isn't necessarily the same as everyone else's experience, and I can only speak for myself. That's the other thing. All I know is that we had a wonderful cast of. I went from being the youngest cast member in Hair to being the oldest cast member, bar the adults, in Spring Awakening within 2 months. So that was quite a gear change for me. There were a lot of grads. We had a couple of cast members who had never trained before. We had people who identify all different sexualities, gender, able-bodied, just everything. We had everything in that show, and I think that is what made that production so noteworthy, because every single person in that show had their role, not necessarily character, but everyone had their place within the show, and brought something totally different, because all of our experiences were totally different in upbringing, outlook, and I learned so much on that show. One of my best friends on that production told us on I can't remember what day, it was about halfway into the run, that he was a transgender man, and then had a female role within Spring at the Hope Mill, and then when we did it at the What's on Stage Awards a year or so later, he'd been on testosterone for a year, and he then had a complete costume made for him, and then we did our performance with him in the role that he feels like he sits in, which was amazing. And to go on that journey with him and to learn so much from him has been invaluable to me in my life. he's a wonderful, wonderful person. So yeah, I felt a lot of responsibility on that show, if I'm honest, because the themes are so important, and I think for a lot of people, and the reason the show has that cult following and always has spoken to youth and young people is because it really touches on everything, and you don't know who's going to be sat in that audience on whatever evening really needing to hear the story that you're telling, so you do have a responsibility to uphold that and do it justice, and my character is not necessarily one of the ones that goes through the most turmoil, so yeah, it was a lot, if I'm honest. It was a very emotionally demanding show, and the lows and the highs are all over the place.
No, I can imagine. I've never, unfortunately, yet to see it live on stage.
It's brilliant. It's
I would
great.
love, like, I'll go. It's the first chance I get when I'm near. Unfortunately, I wasn't near enough Manchester.
Yeah, that's the thing. That is the only thing. Is that unfortunately you didn't get its wider audience that I think that production deserved, but unfortunately it's not always about who's the most deserving.
No, you definitely had a great run.
We had a great run. I absolutely adored it.
It was one of my biggest musical theatre regrets. I should have just went up a day trip, but hey ho.
Yeah.
Hindsight's a great thing. So,
Yeah.
so Mary's actually, she's sent in a question, but she's actually started it with she's slightly jealous of you.
Okay.
Because she wants to know what it's like kissing Luke Latchman.
Kissing Luke Latchman. I went to college with Luke. So Luke was on the foundation at Artside when I was in my first year, and then he was in first year when I was second year, so he was always a year behind. And I didn't really know Luke too much at college. But yeah, I remember it's really confusing because our director was called Luke as well. So Luke director really wanted to make sure that that moment was done right. For the production that we were doing, I felt it incredibly important to not ham up that moment. And there are versions that I've seen that post, because I didn't watch anything at the time, that is the case, and I can certainly see from the text and the character that I was that it's very easy for that to happen. So we actually we had a whole rehearsal, to a whole afternoon to ourselves to do that very short scene and song, and we spent a good hour just talking about it with the director, just us two sat on the floor trying to negotiate and navigate it, because it speaks about so much in a very short period of time. It was great. Like I loved it. I think we had really great chemistry on stage. I think I was actually in for Ernst, so I was never in for Hanshin. I didn't even learn the Hanshin side. I was in for Luke's character all the way up until to finals. I had my final on the last show of Hair, so I had to go in really early, and I went and did it. And then as I was picking up my stuff to leave, Luke director said, "Oh, do you mind just reading it?" And I was like, "I've not learned it." Because that wasn't on my thing to learn. It was like, no, I just want to hear Hanshin. And I did. And then I got a phone call weeks later saying, "You've got the part and you're playing Hanshin." And I was like, to my agent at the time, I was like, "No, I'm in for, you mean Ernst?" He was like, no, you've got Hanshin. So,
You've got Hanshin.
yeah, I was like, "Oh, okay, fine. Great." I didn't really know the show. So I was like, okay, I'll take whoever. Yeah, so that was interesting. That was really interesting, because I think up until the show, I would have put myself in Ernst's shoes. Always, as like in life, that's how I would see myself. But I think actually since doing the show, I am much more the bad guy, unfortunately. He's not a bad guy. He's just different. He's misunderstood in his own way. and that's what I wanted you to be able to see a tender side to him, and it took quite a lot of work, and actually it took a lot of work in the scenes where I didn't have very much to say and not very much to do, to build the persona that could then be broken down in that moment. So I wasn't trying to play everything in one go. He had more of a journey, and that was something we really focused on, was his character arc within the show. So otherwise Hansham becomes incredibly nasty and vindictive and condescending to Ernst, who is discovering his sexuality in that moment, and that's something I did not want to show. I did not want to show Ernst as a victim, or because I think if anyone going to sitting and watching that show at that point in their lives where they need to see that, you don't want I didn't want any kind of negativity coming out of that. So that was really important to me. So yeah, it was great. Me and Luke had a great time.
He said the same yesterday, I've got to say. Yesterday.
Sometimes twice on a Saturday.
So yeah, so the first time you met Holly, that's obviously it's Luke's girlfriend.
Yes.
What was that? That must have been a slightly awkward meet. Hi, I'm Adam. I'm the guy that kisses your boyfriend.
It was fine. It was fine. The best laugh is that, so I was really lucky. Whilst I was doing Spring Awakening, I got another job that ended up being in Italy. So we finished Spring Awakening on the Saturday, and I flew out to Italy the Sunday afternoon.
Wow.
And unfortunately, I was in Manchester, and I was living and flying out of London. So my dad came up, he lives in Dorset, all the way up to Manchester, because he came up on the train because I had a car that he needed to get back to Dorset. So he came all the way up, and my mum was like, you're not allowed to go see the show again. You're not allowed to go see the show again. And then it turns out that he was sat in the middle of the stalls. He managed to get a ticket next to Holly. And I'm Adam's dad, and she was like, I'm Luke's girlfriend, and he was like, oh, okay. But they had a lovely chat. They had a wonderful time. Yeah, apparently.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
No, Holly's lovely. Holly is very, very lovely. She allowed me to borrow her boyfriend for a little bit every evening.
Yes, it's acting's always interesting.
All in the context of the
those
show.
kind of scenes. Yes, those kind of scenes always come up. And other halves, whether it be boyfriends or girlfriends.
It's the first and the only one that I've had so far, actually. I was expecting them to be a bit more often, because of course most shows are about love or some form of love in whatever context. So it was bound to happen. In all honesty, I never thought I would be playing a gay character on stage ever. So that was quite nice, really. That's
going to become more common, I think, especially in more up-to-date musicals that are getting written at the moment.
I hope so, because as I was exploring the character and exploring the show, having never known anything about it before, the whole time I was like, I really had to sit back and go, so if I was Adam at 13, 14, whatever, watching this, what would he need? How would he perceive this? What would he get out of this? How would he be feeling through this? And I think I really could have done with the show, in all honesty, when I was younger. There's shows that you go and see, like The Inheritance, for example. If I'd seen that show at 13, 14, that would have completely transformed my life. It transformed my life anyway.
Yeah, I didn't mind
like that does. But I think it's really, it comes down to seeing yourself represented on stage. And that's regardless of everything. That's in all streams of race, gender, able-bodied people, disabled people, the works. That's what it comes down to. It comes down to seeing yourself represented, and I think it's crazy in a world that is dominated by gay men that there aren't that many shows really that's explored.
No, because if you look at even the West End, for example, there are a lot of the performers who are LGBT.
Yeah.
Plus, there isn't many trying to think on the West End right now. There's actually not. Is there an LGBT musical on at the moment? There's not in the West End. I'm trying to think. No.
So just having that representation.
But there are gay characters in musicals. Like you had Falsettos recently, which obviously was on recently. Acted on recently. But apart from that, we need to get some more. We'll campaign. Me and you, we'll start a campaign.
It will happen. It will happen. All kinds of representation are super important. So
definitely, 100%.
It's way more interesting that way. Way more interesting. That show is interesting because it's got everyone under the sun in that show. That's why it's as interesting and haunting and joyous as it is. Yeah.
So 3 more questions from the fans, and then we'll go on to our dreaded not so quick fire round. So Tim wants to know, if you could be in any current West End musical, which would it be? Now when we mean current, we mean pre-lockdown, obviously.
Pre-COVID.
Because obviously there's nothing currently at the moment.
Yes, there's not much on at the moment.
Nothing on at the moment, unfortunately.
No, nothing. Dark is what we call it. There are shows that I can see myself in, as in my casting fits them. And I think when you're a professional, that is what you do start looking at, for example, for me, something like the Book of Mormon is right up my street with my casting. So in my head, it's like, I really want to be part of the Book of Mormon. Because it's kind of attainable. Like if I turn around and say, I'd love to be Christine in Phantom, might not be quite so attainable. So that's probably the Book of Mormon I'd love to be in. There are just loads of shows that I want to do, but what I really love and have been very lucky to have done is that every single show I have done, I have been the original production of that company. So there has only been me playing that role, doing that role in that show, and I think no matter what I was part of in any West End production, that is what I would like. I like to put my stamp on things and explore things, and it's been incredibly rewarding doing that. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to play Marius and Les Mis. If you told, like, that would be my dream role when I was younger. One of my favourite shows is Bear, and that just needs to have a West End debut. And I'd love to be in that. But yeah, there's lots out there that I think I can see myself sat in. But I think when you do get into that like professional mindset, it's really difficult to navigate what do I really want to be a part of and would love to be a part of, and what role would I like to be a part of? Because when you talk about roles, inevitably you're talking about career really. But my favourite show is Phantom, and it's, funnily enough, it's the only show I would not like to be a part of because I wouldn't want to ruin it for myself.
That makes sense, yes, that makes sense.
I wouldn't want to know how it all works. If I knew that, it'd ruin it.
Yeah, you're breaking like I do magic as a living, and I don't want to learn all the magic tricks because it spoils it.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
There's definitely part of that. Like there are certain shows that I don't think I'd touch with the barge pole because they mean something else to me. So there are shows that I'd love to be a part of, and there are shows that I like to watch and see and experience from the other side. Because inevitably it is a job at the end of the day, and you're doing it 8 shows a week, and there are going to be some shows that go cataclysmically wrong, and there are going to be some brilliant times as well, and inevitably your whole year ends up being woven in with that, regardless, like you getting on the tube every day or you doing the show every day. They just end up weaving together. So there's some shows that I just need to keep in their place, but yeah, I think regardless of what I was part of, I'd love to be part of an original or a new production of. But I'm quite open to suggestions.
Well, the rumour is, I know that Mr. Webber squashed it this morning, but there was a rumour that there was a new production of Phantom, so you could have taken part in that.
Honestly, when I saw that, I was like, right, that's it. That's the end. I thought COVID was going to end the world. No, the new production of Phantom's going to end the world. It's ended my world anyway.
No,
No.
it's okay. Mr. Weber quashed that.
He's
Don't worry.
quashed it, thank the
He
Lord.
has quashed the rumours.
No, it's the brilliant original. That's why it's called that. It's a piece of history. That's why I love it so much. So
They didn't think they would ever do it to Les Mis, and they have. So there's a chance it might do it to Phantom.
I can see why they would, and I definitely can understand why that happened with Les Mis as well.
But also, I think with Phantom, the rework was nice.
Yeah.
In my eyes.
Yeah. I saw them the same day.
Just keep Phantom the way it was, and the rework was the second was lovely.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Did your Wi-Fi come?
That's a good answer. Two more questions. Leanne wants to know, do you have any pre-show rituals?
Pre-show rituals? Oh, yes. I'm terrible for that. When I first started out, I had a prep ginger shot every single day during shows. Honestly, because in Hair we didn't leave the stage at all. So around the bean bags, there were just loads of prep bottles, but like wrapped so they didn't look like prep bottles, because everyone got on this ginger shot thing. I do have a specific vocal warm-up that I have to do. I just have to do it, just so I have peace of mind that everything that I need to work is working. Other than that, not massively so, because I would kind of lose my mind if I did it too much, because I have one of those personalities that if I get in my head that I have to do something before, then that's it. I won't be able to go on if that's not happened. And there are some days when you can't fulfill the rituals that you want to fulfill. I will never drink before the night before a show, the same that I never drink the night before an audition. It more comes down to like vocal health things more than anything, if I'm perfectly honest. And I think when you do shows themselves, like each individual show, you have a little bit of a ritual thing that you like to do or you have to do. Invariably, everyone gets ready at the same time, but like in a canon, that always happens. Like you see so-and-so getting their mic, and then that means you're going up and getting your mic next, and no one's ever said that. Like that's not been anything that's been set up, but the whole beginning show ritual is a collaborative, so it just ends up happening naturally. I don't have anything really bizarre, other than I do do a couple of vocal warm-ups that are a little bit bizarre but wonderful, so they work. So that would probably be my vocal ritual. I have a 13-minute warm-up that I do by my incredible singing teacher that I have to do before every show. So that's mine.
There we go. That's not the weirdest. We've asked that quite a few people.
I understand that one. That's some very odd things.
yes, there's some strange ones. You have to touch this specific post, and
oh no, that's
in this show. And
I'm not superstitious.
I have to go to the toilet 2 minutes before, and
not like that.
There was one. I honestly can't remember. I'm not just saying who. I'm not saying who it is, but I can't remember who said it. That they have to get ready. They can't get into the costume until beginner's call.
Oh, there's no way.
And I'm like,
I'm that person that is ready at the half. It's very, very rare that I leave it that late. Luke's like that, because
it may actually have been Luke then that said it.
The way Spring Awakening starts is Mama Who Bore Me, which the boys aren't a part of, and we entered the space all together. So we would go, the girls would go down, they'd start the show, we would then get our call, and we would go down. And then we're all there, stood in our line with our chairs, ready to go in. And it's like, where's Luke? Where's Luke gone? Where's Luke gone? And we're all there ready to go on. And Luke has gone and found something that's really important that needs doing just as he's about to go on stage. And then he'll come and it's like, Luke, your braces are off, or your top skew with or whatever. So we used to have to deal with that quite often. Quite often it was, where's Luke? So we did have that. I'm always the person asking where everyone is, opposed to the person missing.
Yeah, so you're always the question asked, I'm not the question causer.
Yeah.
That's the saying, but it is now. Yeah. We've made it a thing. So the last fan question, you'll be glad to know. So you've talked about a lot of roles that you've played.
Yes.
And a question that we're getting asked a lot, I think people are watching the videos and now just coming in the next person.
Yeah.
But Andrew asks, if you had to go into lockdown with one character that you've played,
Yeah.
who would you go into and why?
We've had to go into lockdown with a character played. And
You're going on the character, obviously. You're not going on you. You're going on the character.
Most of the characters I've played have been nasty, so I don't think I really want to spend that much time with them. I think at the moment, I think it's such a time of self-reflection. It'd have to be my character from Hair, I think, because all the characters from Hair, because there were many. Just because I think it's really important to it's been such a time of reflection for everyone, to really stop and think and assess your life and what you want from it. And I think a show that really speaks out, like we were saying earlier, with regards to its voice and its message. I think that's really poignant right now. I could not go into lockdown with the Mayor of Who because it would drive me insane.
I can appreciate that, yes.
There is no chance.
Anyone from Suzuko, to be honest, would drive you insane.
You'd think like you'd lost it. You think you'd gone stir crazy in your room by yourself. Like that's what would happen. No chance.
No, I can completely understand that. Definitely. So that brings us to the end.
Yeah.
Of the fans' questions. You can relax slightly. All that's left is the not so quick fire round.
Okay.
It was called the quick fire round until your ex-producer changed it to not so quick fire round because he was rubbish. So Tom went, no, I can't do it quickly, so he changed it to not so quick fire round.
Okay, fine.
4 questions and an activity. So the first question is, if regardless of race or age, what was your dream role? So if you could have any role you wanted that's male, because we'll come to the other one in a minute.
That's male?
Yes.
I would love to play the telephone guy in The Band's Visit.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah, he has a great song.
He's coming over. That should be coming over soon, so you might get an audition.
He does the entire show, and he doesn't say a word, and then he gets this cracking song, and then leaves. Perfect. That is the perfect show. That is your perfect show. Like, that's wonderful. Every single night, that's all you got to do. Cracking. I'd love that. I adore that show. I saw it on Broadway, and it was fantastic. So that'd be something that I would love to do, but I am not the casting for it. So I'll go to someone who's brilliant.
Never know. It might change as it comes over from Broadway. If it ever comes over from Broadway.
Yeah, true.
I think it will. But there's really not even a rumour for that one at the moment. There's rumours galore from Broadway.
That doesn't surprise me. There are the people in that show were more talented than I think I've ever seen in my life. Some of them have more talent in their little finger than half the West End. Like, it's insane. Some of the musicians in that show blew my mind. Like, absolutely blew my mind. I thought it was great. I loved it.
I unfortunately never saw it.
I think it's so specific. It's such a specific show, and I think that's why it closed, even though it won 11 Tonys. Trying to find a cast to keep rotating that show must be an absolute nightmare, because it's so specific with what each person needs to be able to do and represent. Telephone guy, he's great. Love that.
One song and that's it. Easy money. Easy air money, should I say. Easy air money.
Easy air.
So what if somebody come up to you tomorrow and said you could have any role that is specifically, not specifically, mainly played by a female, what would you say?
I would love to be woman 2 in Songs for a New World.
All right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a bit of a curveball, isn't it?
You've not
had that one yet.
No, I've not had that one. No,
niche. Unfortunately.
That's why I like these. I'd rather have niche ones.
No, like woman 1 or woman 2, don't mind. But yeah, like great, like anything like that. I love. I love anything like that because it's great because every single song you're a completely different character doing something completely different. Brilliant music. You get to explore so many different things, so it's so interesting as an actor. And the score is out of this world, and you're singing cracking songs all the time. Yeah, so probably that, I think. Yeah,
that was a nice curveball. Normally, the easy one for that for males is the alphabet. We're getting that a lot.
Always alphabet. I mean, I wouldn't say no, but I
but
don't think I can sing it in the original key, and I think it would
but
always.
that's why we talk about dream roles. They don't always have to happen. It's a dream role.
I'd
Let's
love
be
to be
honest.
that role, but that must be so stressful. So stressful.
Honestly, I don't know why they've not done a gender bend version of Wicked yet. Like, there are loads of men I speak to at stage doors and who would want to play it, like, just for once, even just do it as a charity one nighter. I do it about like
I mean, that would be something I'd love to see, because I think we'd all realise how incredibly difficult it is to play that character, let alone them doing it 8 times a week.
Well, you've obviously worked with a former alphabet, and obviously, and there's look at the list of people that have played her. Rachel and Nina Mazel, obviously, Alice Fair, Laura Pick, who's playing at the moment. The talent and as alphabet is just I don't know if men could. Certainly, men couldn't hit that note. There's not many men anyway that could hit that high note.
I can tell you right now, I can't. I tried to do it for my cabaret. I tried to get No Good Deed into a key that would work, and it just doesn't. It just doesn't fit in my voice. So
it's like, just give up.
That got sacked off very early on.
All I can, when you think about that note, obviously the infamous note in Defying Gravity, just Chris Colfer from Glee just comes to me. But obviously not being able to hit it, but I don't know if you've seen, but he actually does a recording. He's done a recording because he can actually hit it.
That doesn't surprise me.
He actually did hit it. It was on Instagram or Facebook or something. Put it up to see, look, I actually can hit it, although the character didn't. So moving on, because we now digress to Glee. Musical. What is your favourite musical theatre song?
My favourite musical theatre song.
That doesn't have to be one you've performed, but it can be.
Oh,
that's the hardest question of the day.
That's so difficult. I guess the easiest way would be to see the one that is the most played on my phone.
That's a good way of doing it.
And I can tell you, I have numerous playlists of musical theatre songs.
I think so. Will.
Right, I have 2. One doesn't really count as a song. One would be the Overture of Phantom. That's the most played on there. But that doesn't count as a song. Omar Sharif, again, for the band's visit, gets played a lot. Because I think it just is so haunting and beautiful and different. I think that's why I love it. But I listen to a lot, so I don't know. I think it's like anything. That changes on a daily basis, and what you need. I like listening to that song a lot. I listen to that song all the time. I listen to that show a lot, actually. So probably that.
For me at the moment, it's Dear Evan Hansen. I think that means a lot at the moment. That's the problem.
No! I've changed my mind. It's got to be Satisfied from Hamilton. I didn't find Hamilton. I'm really annoying. I'm one of those people that when something comes out, I'm like, I don't want to be on the trend. I don't want to be like all over this. So I discovered Hamilton like halfway into December, just gone, when I was doing the Railway Children every single day. It was a perfect length for my drive, the whole of Hamilton. So I used to listen to that every single day. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing the Disney Plus version until I can go and see the real version. Which is coming out soon, so that'll be great. So
I thought, 2 weeks time. No, I'm actually very much like you. I don't go for trends. I don't go with the apart from Dear Evan Hansen. I think that's about the only one that but I had seen it in Broadway before it came over. So.
I think that is the thing. I think you kind of you discover things when you need to discover them. I remember when Hamilton kind of did start to peak over here before it came over here, and I just wasn't really in the right place to be. I tried, like I always try, but I was just like, I'm not really feeling it. I'm going to wait until I feel it. So I did. It was the same with Come From Away. That was another one that I sat and listened to the cast recording and was like, don't really get it. But then I went and saw Ms. Tucker do it and was like, oh wow. Definitely should have listened to this.
I could see you as Kevin. You and this
really?
Kevin T. Oh, you and this Kevin T.
Oh.
Maybe a wee bit older. A couple of years, maybe.
Yeah, a couple of years.
A couple of years, and we'll get you on us there. The last question we have for tonight is: what is your top 5 shows? Now, it doesn't have to be ones you've been in again. It can be ones, but it doesn't have to be.
Right. Top 5 shows. Hair. Obviously, it was a top 5 show before I did it, so that only consolidated it for me. Phantom of the Opera is my number 1 favourite show ever. I don't care what anyone says. It's the best show ever. Third. Does it have to be musicals?
No, it can be shows.
Which is so curveball because I don't watch plays. Very rarely, but The Inheritance completely utterly changed my life, and I thought was sensational. So like if I had to see it, if I was seeing these again, that's something I definitely would love to see again. Songs for a New World, because that's sensational again, old, and it's so difficult because it changes all the time. Bear, I'd say.
Because you touched on that, you wanted to be. You said you'd love to be in Bear. Who would you play, Peter or Jason?
See, this is the thing, and I think this is when I was auditioning for Spring Awakening, and I knew Hanshin and Ernst, which would be Jason as Hanshin, Peter as Ernst. I would definitely put myself in Bear as a Peter, not a Jason. But then when I was auditioning, that's how I kind of saw it. So that's why I was like, oh, there's just no way I'm a Hanshin at all. So I don't know. And it depends what version, because they have 2 versions now. And I prefer the first version. And I think I would be Peter in that one, I think.
So what one was on at the Vaults last year? Is that the other version?
No, that's the original.
That's the original, right?
Yeah.
So obviously you worked with that Jason, didn't you? Because that Jason was in Dara was in.
Dara was Melchior in Spring Awakening. Yeah. I didn't get to go and see it at the Vaults actually, which was a shame. But I saw the version that was at the Union.
So you saw Michael Vincent
years ago, which Liam Ross Mills was in, I covered him in Hair, so it's weird how everything comes about. And then I went and saw that production then transferred to Greenwich and slightly changed, and I saw that one. But one of the writers died, I think, and then the other writer moved everything around, swapped songs to different characters, cut bits in, cut bits out. But I prefer the original version, the version that the soundtrack is, anyway, whatever version that is. Yeah, the original.
No, I saw it last year for the first time ever, and it's just absolutely. I see Peter, a lot of Peter in me, or me and a lot of Peter. It's absolutely fantastic. And the last year they did such a twist at the end, but that's digressing again. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the last thing for today is: have you heard of the Ice Bucket Challenge?
No.
You've never heard of the Ice Bucket Challenge?
No. What's that?
Wow. That's the first time. Yeah, a wee bit. Years ago. Years ago.
The honesty, yes.
When you poured ice, you had to pour ice water over yourself.
Yes. No, I do remember that. Oh my gosh, that was years and years.
It was years ago, but obviously we're not going to ask you to do that. That's the first time I've ever come across. Normally just folks say, yes.
I don't have a bucket of ice, I'm afraid. So
you're fine. We're not going to make you do it. Don't worry. But the whole point in that was you were to do it was for charity, and then you were to nominate somebody else.
Okay, fine.
So that was the easiest way of describing it. So what we're doing is the West End Talks nomination.
Yep.
So what we're going to ask you to do just now on the chat is to nominate somebody. So you've got a couple of seconds to think about it. This can be anyone from theatre, film, or TV.
Yeah.
Somebody that you know well, because the whole point is to try and get them in to do a talk.
Oh, I see.
So it can be a minimum of one, but you can nominate more than one if you want.
Okay.
Some people have done more than one. But the whole point is to get them in to do a talk. Once you've nominated them, once you finish the chat, pop onto Twitter, put up a tweet about, I've just done my talk with West End Talks, now it's your turn, and tag them.
I don't know everyone you've done, so if I do someone you've done, you'll have to tell me, and I'll make another choice.
That's fine.
Okay, cool. Okay, I nominate Nicholas McLean, current Bok in Wicked.
No, we haven't done him yet, so that's a good one.
Do you need another one?
It's up to you. You can nominate as many as you want.
I'll give you another one. You can have Mr. Tim Mahendran, currently in And Juliet as well.
I was about to say, and he was in Spring Awakening as well, wasn't he?
He was. Oh, he's hilarious.
That's good. We haven't had any of the two, so that's a good one.
Supposedly.
So your challenge now is you've gone through the pain of a West End talk. So now it's your challenge is to get those two in to do a talk.
Oh, I'll get them in.
To get to put the fans' questions to them.
Yeah.
But that's us at the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All that's left to remind you guys at home is about the charity, because me and Adam aren't just here for fun. We're here obviously to support Acting for Others, and that's what we're hoping you guys will do at home is to remember the charity. The link will be in the bio below. As Tesco say, every little helps. So anything at all that you can donate. If Tesco's ever watch this, they're going to do me for copyright, but I don't care. It's for charity. And I do give them credit for the saying. I don't use it without saying Tesco say.
I feel like you've saved yourself. You're fine. You're covered.
Yeah, I'm covered with copyright. But just remember, anything at all, pop it in the link below. It'll go directly towards helping everybody in theatre, film, and TV. It's not just the casts. It's everybody, and it's not just at the moment. As much as more so at the moment, but they do help all year round. So anything at all you can donate will be much appreciated. And then join us next time when we'll have Luke McCall, who is currently in Les Mis, but he's been in Titanic the musical, Phantom, lots of different things. So join us then. But Adam, thank you very much for joining me tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been an absolute privilege getting to know Adam a bit more rather than just the characters that you played. But thank you very much, and guys, take care. Bye now.
Much.
You fold his hands and smooth his tie. You gently lift his chin. Were you really so blind and unkind?